Hello there, my dear friend. I hope this message finds you wrapped in warmth and comfort. It's been a while since we last shared a quiet moment together, hasn't it? I often find my thoughts drifting back to those times, and I wonder how you've been, what stories you've gathered since then. Today, I've found myself thinking deeply about the nuances of goodbye, and I wanted to share a tale that speaks of love's haunting echoes. It began on an autumn evening when the sky wore a shroud of violet, and the world seemed suspended between dusk and night. The air was crisp, carrying with it the scent of leaves preparing for their final fluttering descent. In the heart of a city that was slowly succumbing to the whispers of decay, the first strains of an unexpected symphony unfurled. A symphony composed of footsteps, hushed promises, and the impatience of a love that knew no bounds. Mara stood at the edge of the riverbank, where the dying light kissed the rippling waters with a tender farewell. She waited in the kind of expectant silence that one reserves for the most intimate of secrets, a silence that spoke of unsaid words poised between the past and the future. Here, time seemed to pause, as if offering a reprieve from the inevitable tide of goodbyes that life insisted upon. When Alex appeared, with eyes that cradled untold stories and heartaches, it was as though the universe had briefly aligned every star to witness the collision of two souls destined to meet in this single fragment of eternity. Their love, burgeoning and fragile, had held the promise of a new dawn. Even amidst the shadows of an ending, they both wished to escape. They stood together, enveloped in the twilight's embrace, and for a fleeting moment, the world around them ceased its incessant march. Yet, as the city breathed out its first cool sigh of night, reality edged closer with unrelenting determination. The weight of words left unsaid hung between them, a phantom lingering on the cusp of their shared silence. Mara Alex broke the hush, voice tinged with the bittersweet melody of regret. You know, I have to leave, but this goodbye, it wasn't supposed to be forever. It was a statement that hovered in the air, a tender plea brushing against the inevitability of the unknown future. Mara's heart tightened, a tiny cord of hope pulling against the tether of understanding that whispered such promises often unravel with time. The river, a silent witness to their exchange, continued its unending flow, much like the current of events that had led to this moment. Alex was leaving for a distant city, seeking answers to questions he had yet to fully form. Answers that demanded the brief sacrifice of what was here in the hope of finding truth elsewhere. And Mara, painfully aware that her heart was not a thing easily mended or forgotten, clung to the fragile notion that love could bridge even the widest chasms of space and time. Their final farewell was a tapestry of longing woven into a fabric of restraint. They parted with a kiss, a gentle brush of lips that promised return even as it tasted of farewell. the world, so finely balanced on the edge of departure, seemed to hold its breath as Alex turned and walked away, his silhouette gradually claimed by the shadows of the city he was leaving behind. Days turned into weeks, and weeks gave way to months, as Mara navigated the emptiness left in Alex's wake. His absence was an echo that reverberated through her days, underscored by letters that grew less frequent as time stitched its own pattern into their lives. She read them with a bittersweet mix of joy and sorrow, the inked lines a testament to distance bridged by paper, but never quite closing the gap in her heart. There were moments when Mara would find herself standing at the riverbank, the same spot that had once cradled their goodbye. She would watch the water flow, steady and unyielding, much like the passage of time itself. In her solitude, Mara often wondered if love was not unlike the river, endlessly moving, sometimes meandering and unpredictable, but always destined to find its way to the sea. It was during one such contemplative evening, as the stars began to flicker in the canopy above, that a familiar voice reached out to her across the dusk, a voice that carried the weight of time past and promises unbroken. Mara. She turned, heart catching mid-beat. There stood Alex, not a phantom of memory, but a tangible presence, more real than any letter or dream could conjure. His return was as unexpected and welcome as the first hint of spring in a world weary of winter's grasp. The reunion was not the dramatic clash of cinematic proportions, but rather a quiet confluence of souls, a gentle merging of paths once thought diverged beyond restoration. They stood on the precipice of something new, a beginning born of the ashes of what had seemed lost forever. Yet even as joy bubbled within her, Mara felt the shadow of their past parting, brushing against the edges of her consciousness. The fragility of what they had shared once loomed over them, a reminder of how love, while resilient, was not unbreakable. Tears of relief and lingering sadness glinted in her eyes. "You came back," Mara whispered, the words both a statement and a question wrapped in the hope that dared to believe this was more than a fleeting moment. Alex took her hands, warmth seeping from his touch into the coolness of her evening-chilled skin. "I realized," he began, voice a thread bound to emotion, "that searching for answers doesn't mean leaving behind what matters most. Sometimes, what we think we need to find is only to remind us of what we've already discovered." In that moment, under a sky ablaze with stars that seemed to celebrate their reunion, Mara understood that love's journey was not merely linear. It ebbed and flowed, much like the river, its waters capable of carving new paths, yet always rooted in its origin. Their conversation blended into the night, words unspooling like silken threads that wove a tapestry of dreams, transformed by the years apart. As they walked along the riverbank, side by side once more, Mara realized that perhaps the truest part of their love was this: finding their way back to one another, not as they once were, but as they had become. The city, with its quiet whispers of a time forgotten, seemed to cradle their story within its ancient stones, placing echoes of love's lessons into every corner where shadows met light. In the end, when goodbye hadn't become forever, it reflected a truth that love, like stars set to guide lost sailors, can find its way through the universe of time and space. As Mara and Alex stepped into the future, hand in hand, the brisk night air filled with their laughter, an unspoken promise that resonated with the timeless assurance of second chances and the reclamation of dreams. Whatever awaited them next, they would face it together, a testament to love's enduring light that even in the presence of farewell can blaze anew. And so, my friend, the tale comes to a close, leaving behind the echoes of a simple truth. In love's grand tapestry, goodbyes are rarely permanent, merely interludes in an ever-evolving dance towards understanding and hope. Until we meet again, cherish the threads of love that weave through your own life's journey.